Alright, so the Chainsaw Man anime has finally debuted, and they knocked it out of the park with this first episode. Like, this was really good stuff. And we're going to be going over the entire episode, so let's get into it. So it opens up with us seeing Denji kind of like in this dream sequence, walking up to this door. So this door is like pretty important to the overall story, but we're not really going to find out the mystery of it until pretty much like the very end, I guess. But it will be prevalent throughout the entire story. So just keep in mind that this is, kind of like an important thing. But anyway, we're introduced to our protagonist here by the name of Denji. And Denji is pretty much like an orphan at this point. We find out that his mom had died from like a disease that caused her to cough up blood, which is also revealed that Denji pretty much has this as well. And his dad was also a deadbeat who owed money to the Yakuza, and before he paid it, he wound up hanging himself. And because of this, the Yakuza are now passing the debt on to Denji. And it's a little bit after this point that Denji runs into who he calls Pochita, which is like this little chainsaw dog thing, but it's also a devil. And I'll get into what devils are in this series, but Denji fears that he's going to be killed by Pochita, of course, but then he realizes that it's been injured, and he suddenly thinks of the idea to give it its blood, because it turns out that if devils drink blood, they can heal themselves. But then he makes a deal with Pochita, saying that like, if I give you this blood, I'm helping you, so you're gonna help me. And that basically means like, allow me to use you as a weapon and don't kill me. And be my friend as well. Now, Denji running into Pochita here is actually kind of like a huge moment in the series, and it's all going to come full circle by the end. Like, we will eventually find out like what Pochita is, why he was injured, and why he was there at that specific time, but it's going to be a very long time. But just remember that this isn't just random. I mean, Denji finding Pochita here is kind of random for him. He's just very fortunate in this situation, but there is like a big specific reason as to why Pochita is there and injured. And then we see that Denji winds up using Pochita to kill this random devil. I'm not sure which one this is, doesn't really matter, but Denji brings it back to the Yakuza, and he's like, hey, instead of just expecting me to like pay these debts immediately, why don't you just hire me as a devil hunter, and I could pay off the debts by working for you. But then we come back to the beginning of this episode where we see Denji coming across the tomato devil, and he winds up making quick work of it in order to, make more money from the Yakuza and pay off his debt further. So these devils are just something that exists in this world, and they're based off of human fears. And I know tomato devil is weird because tomatoes aren't really feared by humans. I mean, I'm sure there's like a tomato phobia, but it's not really prevalent enough for this devil to be particularly strong, because that's another aspect of these devils. Like, the bigger the fear, like the more common amongst humanity, then the stronger the devil will be. So a tomato devil here is, pretty weak, and it's understandable that Denji can take it out. I'm not really sure like what devils are exactly. I mean, the inherent idea of them, I guess, is based off of just like this existing Japanese folklore, because I've seen this idea in multiple series. It's portrayed pretty well in Mob Psycho as to where like urban legends can manifest tangibly if enough people fear them. Like, I guess they just will them into like some kind of supernatural existence or something. But I think it's like a thing in Japan, like this idea, or just with folklore and urban legends. But as for like the devils in this series, I don't think it's ever fully explained like why they are or what exactly they are. I mean, the series is still going on in the manga, so maybe it will eventually be revealed like the exact origin of them, but at the same time, I really wouldn't be surprised if it ever is. We're kind of just led to believe that this is just like an inherent part of this world. There's just these devils, and they manifest from ideas and fears that people have. But we eventually come to like where Denji lives, and it turns out he's like living in like this pretty much like a shed, and he has a pretty rough life because, as we've seen in this episode, both his parents died. He's been working with the Yakuza since he was a kid. He's currently 16 right now, and I don't know how long he has been doing it, but it's been a couple years. So he, missed out on most of his childhood, if not all of it. And he's also been selling like body parts like his eyes and other things that I can't really mention on YouTube, but he's been selling stuff just to pay off this debt, which he's pretty sure he'll never be able to pay it off. And like, he only has enough money to eat like one piece of bread between him and Pochita. So yeah, Denji is living a pretty rough life at this point, like I said. And it's also being revealed in the sequence what Denji's big shonen MC goal / dream is. And it's not to become the Hokage or the Pirate King. It's simply just to score with a girl before he dies. And I know that's, kind of jokey, and I guess it's supposed to be a little bit, but this is very much like seriously his goal. Like, this will be his main motivating factor going forward in the series. Like, he's very serious about this. But the Yakuzas eventually come back to Denji and tell him that there's like another devil that they have to go after. And he winds up leading him to this abandoned warehouse, but it turns out that he's just double crossing Denji here and literally stabbing him in the back because for some reason these Yakuzas foolishly made a deal with the zombie devil. Like I said, these devils are based off of human fears. Zombies make sense. And obviously, since zombies is kind of like a big fear, way more so than tomatoes, you can now see why this devil is way stronger. But anyway, the Yakuza thought they were going to get like more power in exchange or something, but I guess they wound up getting tricked too because the zombie devil's ability is that he could just make other zombies out of people. And he does this to them, and he instructs them to kill Denji and hack him up and throw him into the dumpster. And we see Denji trying to run away here. And in a normal series at this point, the protagonist would most definitely get away. Narrowly, but eventually they would. But non-Chainsaw Man, I mean, we're already able to see that this series certainly subverts tropes and expectations because Denji just literally dies here. He gets hacked up pretty gruesomely and is thrown into the dumpster. But that is not the end of our protagonist here because conveniently, the blood from his wounds was able to drip down into Pochita's mouth, and this heals him enough to bring him back to life. Because, as it was established, if devils drink blood, it heals them. Then we come to like this flashback / dream sequence as well, where Denji is like talking to Pochita, revealing his dreams to him, showing more of their bonding moments. And he also explains that like, if he were to die, like in battle or whatever, that he wants Pochita to take over his body, because apparently some devils have the ability to take over a person's body when they die. And this aspect of the devils and everything is going to be explored much more into the series, like probably even in the next episode. So now that Denji's dead and Pochita has enough energy to be able to do something, instead of taking over his dead body, he decides to make a deal with Denji and say, hey, I'll become your heart, but in exchange, I want you to show me your dreams. Because Pochita really enjoyed that aspect of Denji. Aside from just, Denji taking care of him and being a loyal friend and everything, he really enjoyed when Denji would talk about his dreams and what he ultimately wanted to do in life. So now he's going to give Denji the power to be able to do it. And he becomes Denji's quote unquote heart here. And this allows the body parts to come back together. And we see him being connected by these chainsaw chain things. And now he has the power of the chainsaw devil, which Pochita is. I mean, as clearly we can see. But now he's somewhere in between a human and a devil. And he is officially now the Chainsaw Man. And when he's in this form, obviously he's extremely powerful. And his personality becomes completely unhinged and turns up to an 11. And then we go into this amazing sequence where he just hacks up all of these zombies and ultimately winds up taking down the zombie devil as well. But that's not good enough because he still keeps going afterwards. It starts hacking up all of the rest of the zombies here, which is kind of important because remember, they comprise of the Yakuza that he owed money to, because now he's aware that oh, if I just take you out, then I won't owe you anymore. So just like that, Denji has made a complete 180. He no longer owes a debt to these Yakuza guys, and he has been completely healed by Pochita's abilities. Because as we'll see at the end, he grows back his eye that he was missing, and we can assume that he grew back everything else that he was missing as well. And he also doesn't have that disease that his mother had. So he's just prime tip-top condition now. And that brings us to the ending here, where we see these 3 suited individuals pull up to the warehouse because apparently they were going to take down the zombie devils themselves, but Denji had just coincidentally beat them to it. And we see this woman come in. She winds up examining Denji and realizes that, he's something between a human and a devil, and sees potential in him. And she reveals that she's a devil hunter that works for the public safety. And this confirms that there are professional devil hunters in this world, because it was also kind of revealed by the Yakuza earlier on in this episode when the one guy was questioning why would they hire Denji as a devil hunter, and he was well, because professional devil hunters won't give Yakuza the devil's corpses, so we're going to use this freelancer in Denji. But she pretty much makes a deal with Denji here and saying that hey, if you become my human pet pretty much, then I'll allow you to become a devil hunter with the public safety, and I'll feed you as well. Pretty much giving Denji everything that he wants aside from scoring. And that's where the episode ends. And it just gets way crazier and more exciting after this. But let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.